Okay, so for this question, the students already got a few correct answers here. But just to help you construct the confidence interval, we're supposed to construct a 98% confidence interval for this data. So let's open this in StatCrunch. And now we're constructing a confidence interval based on sample data. So we'll want to go to Stat. It's a T-stat that we need because we're not using a population standard deviation. It's one sample because it's one column of data. And we want to select with data. That way StatCrunch calculates everything for us. And it's a 98% confidence interval. Hit compute. And there's the lower and upper bound that the student has. The margin of error, that's the distance from the center of the confidence interval to one of the ends. So what you can do to quickly find the margin of error is you can take the upper bound, subtracted by the lower bound, and then divide it by 2. That's your margin of error, because that's the distance from the sample mean to the lower bound, or the sample mean to the upper bound. Now this part C, what it's saying is up here, how long would the confidence interval change if you assume the population standard deviation was known to be 20? So when we don't know a population standard deviation, we use a t-test. When we do know a population standard deviation, we use a z-test. So this is asking you to go to stat, z-stat, one sample, and then with summary is what you want to select, not with data. Okay, because we're going to input the sample mean that they told us, 50.64, and then part C said that we had a population standard deviation of 20. And then I think it's just a coincidence that the sample size is 20. Yep. Confidence interval, and they want it still to be 98%. So I'll change this to 98. And so it looks like it's supposed to be 40.236, which rounds to 40.24 and 61.04. Okay, so that's what they did in that last part. I think I've seen this question a couple of times from students this week, and it's because they just missed the fact that it's saying the standard deviation is 20 up here, so you got to use the z-test like I just did.